What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tony Reads. So in today's video, I'm actually really proud of myself because this is going to be my January wrap-up. So it's my first wrap-up of 2024. And guess what, everybody? I actually finished 3 whole books. Now, I know for all you readers, you veteran readers or whatever, that's like a very small amount. I'm proud of myself. 3 whole books is a lot for me considering that I just started reading a couple months ago. So I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back. So the first book that I finished in January 2024 was none other than The Wife Upstairs by Freida McFadden. So this book, it was a little thicker than most of the Freida McFadden books that I've read previously, but it was actually a pretty good book. I won't say that I love it. But I do like it a lot. It definitely wasn't Freida McFadden's best, but it also wasn't the worst. So the storyline for this one was, there's always some kind of maid or housekeeper in Freida McFadden's books, but this is not the same maid as the housemaid. This is another, I don't even know, she's not even a maid. She's more like a sitter for this rich man's wife. So there's a rich man, and it was a while ago, you guys, I'm not good with names in real life. So I'm definitely not good with names for books. And I don't want to sit here and just read it to you. But, so there was he was an author. He was a best-selling author. He was rich. He had a wife, and she was like confined to a wheelchair, and she stayed up in this room upstairs. And supposedly there was an accident. Yeah, right. And that's why she was like paralyzed. She couldn't walk or anything. She could barely even talk. Barely could communicate or whatever. She couldn't chew real food. They had to give her this, like everything, even if it was steak or something, they had to grind it up in a, food processor or whatever. And then she also had to take, like, I don't know, not an IV, but like she had a feeding tube. She had a feeding tube as well. And they gave her like this medicine and stuff for nutrients. But anyway, so he hired this young woman. I can't remember. let me just look on the back. Anyway, the family's name, the rich people were Victoria and her husband, the Barnetts. Those are the rich people. And Sylvia was the poor person who came to be like a sitter. There was a maid who already worked there. There was like, another person that came also to help sit with the wife, just kind of keep her company while the husband was working, writing upstairs or whatever. And so Sylvia is the main character, and she was a live-in helper. And anyway, so the story goes, I don't want to give away too much just in case you haven't read this, but I do spoil it sometimes, but I really don't like to do them. So she started like kind of building somewhat of a relationship with Victoria. And Victoria was happier when Sylvia was around. She started communicating with her a little bit. She could say like words like, I'm just making something up, drawer or something like that. And it was hard, throughout the book, it was hard for Sylvia to understand what she's saying. She finally made out what she was saying. And what she was saying, kind of where the real meat of the story starts is when the wife, Victoria, points Sylvia to this drawer that has her diary in it. And so Sylvia starts reading the diary, and it's telling about how Victoria had met her husband, all the things that happened and all this kind of stuff. And they basically, Sylvia finds out that the husband is, according to the diary, is not everything that she thought he was. He's not as nice of a guy, whatever. But anyway, so you're probably thinking that that's the plot. Oh, the husband is bad, the wife is good, or the wife is bad, the husband is good. You think it's that simple. With Freida McFadden stories, it's never that simple, and that is not the plot. That's not the plot twist. That's like nothing. That's something that anybody could just like guess by reading the book. But anyway, you really have to just read it to understand it. Like I said, I don't want to give anything away, but just all kinds of stuff happens, and it has you thinking, so-and-so killed this person and another person killed that person or whatever. And then you end up finding the truth comes out in the end, of course. And it actually was a pretty good plot twist. I felt that, to me, Freida McFadden kind of got lost in it a little bit, and I felt the ending was a little weak, and I've seen better from Freida McFadden before. So That's kind of like why I didn't. The story was good, the storyline was good and everything, but why I don't rate this very high. I don't remember how many stars I gave this or whatever, but it's not. I wouldn't even say it's like 4 stars. It's like 3 something. It's because the ending I felt could have been better. It's like, you know, you're excited, you know, get into it, and it's like, it's just like a deflated balloon or whatever. But it was okay. I won't. You know, I'm glad I didn't DNF it or anything. I'm glad I read it. It's not a waste of money or anything like that. I do recommend people check it out. It's an easy read, whatever. So the next book is the book. Check out my video if you really want to know in depth about this book. But it's called Lock Every Door, and it's by Riley Sager. And if you follow me, if you are subscribed to my channel or have watched several of my videos, you know already that so far all I've read since I started reading last November are books from Freida McFadden mostly, and then Riley Sager. I've read a few of them. The first book I read by Riley Sager, The Last Time I Lied, because Riley Sager has a very different writing style than Freida McFadden. Of course, Freida McFadden is an easy read, and that's what I like. That's what I prefer. Riley Sager is a little bit more detailed, a little bit more stretching out the story and everything. But in the end, his books turn out to be good. But it just takes me a long time to get to them. People kind of like mix up what I'm saying. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to DNF his books because I've read them now and I know how he writes. You have to kind of get at least midway before it starts really getting real good. And so they're just a little slow for me with all the descriptions and everything. But this was one of them. But this one I don't feel it was as slow as Last Time I Lied at all. It wasn't near that slow, but it's slower than Freida McFadden. But this one, so like I said, if you want a lot of detail, watch my other video that's dedicated to this and why I gave it 5 stars. But basically, there's this fancy apartment in near Central Park, and only the rich elite people live there or whatever. They hired this young lady to come work there as a apartment sitter. And there's all these rules, like you can't speak to anybody. You can't, like there's famous actresses and stuff there. You can't ask for their autograph. You can't be nosy. You can't have any overnight guests. You can't spend the night somewhere else overnight. It's all these rules. It's starting to sound weird and creepy. You know, the main character starts finding out that there's other apartment sitters in the apartment building. And there's some that have just mysteriously quit in the middle of the night, according to what the apartment manager is saying, and just all this stuff. And it, you know, this one, I will say, I don't feel that anybody would really be able to guess what's going to happen at all. It has a really, I don't know, the plot twist is like, it's really, really good. It's just something that you would never think of, because usually it's like, they're the killer, they're the killer, they're the killer, and you may be right and you may be wrong or whatever. But in this one, it wasn't anything like that. And this one also, if you like real creepy stuff, like this is, Freida McFadden is more psychological thriller. Riley Sager, to me, his books get more on the bumps in the night, seeing things and that kind of stuff. So not just psychological, but kind of like scary. So if you're like a scary person, some of Riley Sager's books I don't necessarily recommend. I'm gonna talk about that actually with the next book a little, I think so. Yeah, the next book a little bit later. But this one, so like I said, there's a huge plot twist or whatever. The main character ends up meeting up and befriending another one of the apartment sitters, and then she quits mysteriously in the middle of the night, so they say, or whatever. And she's trying to figure out what's happening, and they, you know, go through all this stuff, whatever. And it sounds like yeah, but it's actually really good. I would say this one kept me wanting to turn to the next page and everything. It took me a little longer to read than Freida McFadden's, but in the end, I was happy that I read this. Definitely not a waste of money. This is the first book I ever gave 5 stars to. It's a really excellent book. And if you have read any of Riley Sager stuff, or you're looking for some other kind of thriller to read, this would be a really good, I recommend this book to you, definitely. Last but not least, believe it or not, is another Riley Sager book. And this one is called Home Before Dark. I believe this is one of his most popular books, if not the most popular book by him. So the storyline, again, I probably mess up the names or whatever. The main character's name is Maggie. And so she's grown now, like in her late 20s or something. But anyway, what had happened in the past when she was little, like 5 years old, her and her mom and dad moved to this house, this big old gigantic house. He's also an author. That's a common theme in a lot of books, that somebody's an author. But they move into this house, and All of a sudden, they stayed there only for like 20 days, and they ended up dashing out, and they went to the police and everything. They were frightened, and allegedly what had happened was the house was haunted or whatever. They left. I mean, they didn't care. They left everything there. It's kind of like, it gives you like Amityville kind of vibes. So again, that's what I wanted to kind of warn you about. If you're the type that's scared of like things going bump in the night and all that kind of stuff, and you just want like a mind thriller, this is not the book for you. It's really creepy. It's like borderline horror, you know, or whatever. So if you're scared of that, don't read it because you need to sleep with the light on. But so fast forward, you know, she's grown now. Her mom and dad are divorced. She doesn't have a really good relationship with them. She doesn't remember anything that happened when she was little about that house. But her dad is like on his deathbed and he ends up dying. And he like, his last warning to her is don't ever go back to that house or something like that. What she finds out in the will is that she got the house. The parents never sold it. And so she got that in the will. And so it just so happened her profession was like a fixer-upper person. And so her and her friend would buy houses and fix them up and, you know, flip them or whatever. And so she was going to, quote unquote, go back to that haunted house to go do that. And she didn't remember anything that happened. And she also felt that the dad, I forgot to say this is an important part. The dad was an author. When they ran away and fled the haunted house many years ago, he ended up making a book. It's called The House of Horrors, about their experience in that house. And it became a bestseller. It went big. They were all on TV, the media, and everything. And he became rich off of that. The family became rich. But in addition to that, the girl, as she was growing up, she was getting teased. People were looking like she was crazy. Every time people would see her, they want to ask her about that house and everything. And she ended up, you know, she's like in therapy and everything. It really bothered her. But yet she had no memory of any of that stuff happening. So what her thought process was is that the dad just lied and made all that stuff up just to make a book, a bestseller that people would buy. And so anyway, she's going back to that house that she now owns. She's going to fix it up and everything. She's going by herself. She meets like people that still live around there that like kind of watch the grounds and everything. She kind of befriends them and finds out that they lived there all along. They lived there all along, even when she was little and everything. And she starts finding more and more stuff out. Creepy things start happening, like, you know, a chandelier will come on by itself, noises, just all kinds of stuff. So throughout the story, you're trying to, you know, there's like supposedly all these this is a really old house too, like from the 1800s. And throughout the story, Rod Sager is making you think, you know, you find out all this old storyline. Oh, it's the ghost of so-and-so doing this. Oh, no, and then you figure out, no, that's not it. It's the ghost, this ghost of so-and-so doing that. Oh, it's the dad that was bad. No, it was there was a murder-suicide, you know, just all this kind of stuff. And it come to find out at the end, as you know, since there's a plot twist, I'm not giving anything away. None of that is what is really the reality. And so the way, I'm not doing this book any justice, but this is a really, really, really good book. I would say it's up there with this. I wouldn't quite give this one a 5-star rating, but it's real close. It's a 4 point something, high 4s, like maybe 4.5 or something like that. But it's really good. I highly recommend this one. I see why this is one of his most popular books. But again, a warning is if you're a scary type person, I don't recommend this. I would not read this, especially if you live alone or something, because the minute you hear a noise or something, you're going to get scared after reading this book. I'm not a scary type person, but like my sister, I know she is and everything, and other people don't recommend it because it's like borderline kind of horror, you know, or so you think, so you might think. But anyway, so that's my wrap up for January. I got some other videos coming up. You guys want to see, I'm about to go shopping. My stash is getting kind of low. There's so many books that I want to read in 2024. I set some goals. It's very small goals. It's just like 2 books a month, which as you can see, I've already exceeded that because I did 3 for January. But yeah, I just got a lot going, and I'm just really excited about some of the books that are going to be coming out soon. I'm about to spend a lot of money. But anyway, if you like this video, thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and a notification button so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And I will see you in the next one.